He only wanted a quiet night out with his brother. No fights, no trouble, just two young men laughing together. But to the cops who stormed in, their skin was the only crime. Within seconds, hands were on their shoulders, voices shouting, eyes burning with suspicion. They were treated like criminals before a single word was spoken. Yet, what those officers didn't know was about to change everything. Because these twins weren't who they seemed, and the truth would leave everyone in shock. How could two men be judged so wrongly until their real identities came to light? It was supposed to be a night like any other. The twins had grown up inseparable, brothers who shared everything from childhood secrets to dreams bigger than the small town they came from. To most people, they looked like any other young black men, strong, confident, full of life. But behind the laughter and easy smiles were years of discipline, sacrifice, and service few could imagine. That evening, they walked into a bar, blending in with the hum of music and clinking glasses. To them, it was just a rare chance to relax, to be ordinary for once. No uniforms, no ranks, no salutes. Just two brothers enjoying a drink together after weeks apart, but not everyone in the room saw them as ordinary. Eyes lingered longer than they should have. Whispers started. And when the door swung open and a group of officers entered, the energy shifted. The air grew tense, heavy, as if the walls themselves knew something was about to happen. The twins didn't notice at first. They were too busy catching up on life, talking about family, about duty, about everything they'd missed. But outside those conversations, suspicion was already building. In that moment, their skin told a story that no introduction, no resume, no badge of honor could erase, and soon. The night that began with laughter would spiral into a confrontation they never saw coming, one that would reveal truths that shocked everyone in the room. At first, the brothers barely noticed the officers. They were too wrapped up in conversation, too lost in the rare comfort of each other's company. But when the first command barked across the bar, the mood shifted instantly. "Hey, you two stand up." Every head turned. The chatter stopped. The music faded into background noise. Suddenly, all eyes were on them. The twins exchanged confused glances. They hadn't done anything, hadn't raised their voices, hadn't even left their seats. Yet the officers moved toward them with a purpose that felt less like routine and more like accusation. One brother spoke calmly. "Is there a problem, officer?" But calm wasn't enough. The questions came sharp, fast, like bullets. "Where are you from? What are you doing here? Got ID? Who do you think you are sitting here like you belong?" It wasn't curiosity. It was judgment. It was suspicion woven into every syllable. And it didn't matter that they were decorated men, respected leaders in their fields. In this moment, to these cops, they were just two black men in a bar. The officers demanded they empty their pockets, stand against the wall, submit to a search. People in the room shifted uncomfortably, but no one spoke up. Some stared with pity. Others smirked as if watching a show they had seen too many times before. The brothers complied at first, their discipline telling them not to escalate. But the humiliation cut deep. Every pat-down, every narrowed eye, every whispered insult chipped away at the dignity they had worked their whole lives to build. When one officer shoved a hand into a brother's jacket and sneered, "What are you hiding?" the tension cracked. The younger twin's fists clenched, his breath sharp. He wanted to speak, to fight back, to scream at the injustice burning inside him. But his brother shot him a warning glance, a silent reminder. One wrong move could change everything. The officers weren't looking for weapons. They weren't looking for truth. They were looking for submission, for the satisfaction of power. And the brothers knew it. "Step outside," an officer ordered, his tone leaving no room for argument. The bar's doors swung open, the night air heavy with silence as they were marched toward the street. Whispers followed them out, snippets of doubt, disbelief, and judgment. To the crowd, they weren't heroes. They weren't protectors. They were suspects. On the sidewalk, the search grew harsher. Voices rose. The officers spoke over each other, accusations growing bolder. Drugs? Stolen property? Gang affiliation. The words stung like lashes, branding them with lies. And still the brothers stayed silent. But silence couldn't last forever, because buried beneath the calm exterior was a truth that none of those officers could have imagined. a truth that would flip the power dynamic in an instant. And as one officer shoved the older twin harder than before, demanding he confess, the moment of revelation drew closer. They weren't just any men, and soon the entire street would know exactly who they were. The street was silent except for the officers' commands, their voices sharp, cutting through the night. The twins stood against the wall, hands raised, every muscle tight with controlled fear. Then it happened. An officer shoved the younger brother so hard his head struck the brick. Gasps rippled through the small crowd that had gathered. Blood trickled down his temple, but he didn't move. Because he knew any reaction, any flinch could be twisted into resistance. "Stop resisting," one officer barked, though neither brother had moved an inch. The crowd murmured. Some pulled out phones, recording. Others shook their heads, whispering, "They didn't do anything." The older twin's chest heaved with rage. Years of discipline told him to hold back, but something inside him snapped. His voice rang out, clear and commanding, the kind of voice that turned chaos into order on the battlefield. "You have no idea who you're talking to." The officers sneered, unmoved. One reached for his cuffs. Another kept a hand close to his weapon. Then came the words that froze the air. "I am a captain in the United States Navy, and my brother—" He pointed to the man still bleeding. Still silent. "Is a commander in the Navy SEALs." The street fell into stunned silence. The crowd gasped. Even the officers hesitated, their confidence wavering for the first time. Phones were raised higher, voices sharper. "Did you hear that? He's military, he's one of ours." But the brothers didn't lower their hands. They didn't beg. They stood tall, their dignity unshaken even under the weight of humiliation. And in that electric pause, caught between disbelief and fear, the officers had to make a choice. Would they double down on their injustice, or face the truth of the men they had just tried to break? The answer would define everything that happened next. The silence on that street was heavy, broken only by the sound of the officers stepping back. Their confidence had cracked, their voices faltered. The truth was undeniable now. These men weren't criminals. They were leaders, protectors, heroes, but the damage was already done. The humiliation, the violence, the suspicion, it couldn't be erased by rank or title. Because before they were seen as Navy officers, they were seen as black men. And in that split second of judgment, their service, their sacrifice, their humanity had meant nothing. The crowd knew it. The cameras knew it. And so did the brothers. They didn't celebrate that night. They didn't cheer their way out of injustice. They walked away quietly, shoulders heavy, knowing they had survived something that should never have happened in the first place. And that is the cruel truth. Racism doesn't ask about resumes or medals or titles. It doesn't care if you're a student, a teacher, or a Navy SEAL. It reduces people to a single thing: the color of their skin. These brothers were lucky. Their truth came out before it was too late. But what about the countless others who never get the chance to reveal who they are? Whose lives are cut short before the world learns their names, their stories, their worth? This wasn't just their fight, it's all of ours. Because until every person is seen for their humanity first, stories like this will keep repeating. So ask yourself, how many more times will we watch this cycle before something finally changes?